My come as you are. I don't know if you're wearing pants. Are you wearing pants?
I'm wearing pants, but I'm wearing flip-flops, if that's okay.
Good job. Flip-flops.
Yeah, I work better in flip-flops.
Good. So how are you dealing with this? This is new for you to some extent. Maybe not as much, eh? The work from home kind of situation. I know for myself, I've been doing this for like 24 years, so it's not maybe as much of a stretch for me as others. And maybe it's the same thing for you. I don't know.
I
What
was
you like?
probably half-half with people and online, half-half. Online, it was more, doing my preparation, and I wasn't virtually online that much with clients. Today is my 1-year anniversary of the last time I was with a client in person. 1 year ago today was I was giving a session on happiness and change management in the US a year ago. I saw, on Facebook, they give you 1 year ago.
Yeah.
And I was at the airport with my little bag and not suspecting that we would not travel or see clients again for so long. So that was funny to see that memory this morning.
Well, Ingrid, I don't know if you're going to believe this, but today is my anniversary of the same thing.
Get out.
This is the last day in 2020 that I went out and met a client. What a weird coincidence. So I know exactly what you mean. It's been a year.
A year. This is the longest 2 weeks of my life. Remember that 2 weeks, just 2 weeks.
We're going to be fine. We're going to be out of this in no time. It's going to be over and done. Just a memory. No. And so how are you feeling about it all? Do you feel constrained? Do you feel confined? Or how are you dealing with it?
I am feeling embarrassed and guilty to be as happy as I am.
Right.
But I just am so solution focused and glass half full that I'm looking at not just the benefits for me and my family, but for my clients and for even society, how we've reconnected with our core values like family and just trying to be healthy and take care of one another. I'm grateful and I love, I'm lucky to have work and to be very busy. My heart goes out to, I'm concerned about the kids. I'm concerned about the teens. I'm concerned about the elderly. I'm very sad for entrepreneurs and for small businesses. So it's not like I'm in a Walt Disney bubble.
Right.
But you can't control what you can't control. So
right. I feel like that for the most part myself as well. I feel very fortunate too. I've been busy. I've not had any financial worries. I've not had the feeling that I'm going to lose my job any minute. And I've not really had to readjust to that new normal, as you say, because this has pretty much been my life, working from home. And I'd go out to a client once in a while, and that would be lovely. I miss that. I really do miss the human contact, but you have to make the best of everything, I think. So you and I think alike for that. You do have to see the good, and there is all those simple pleasures that we came to realize were a lot more important than we were probably taking them for granted a little bit.
Yeah.
So that is the good side of it. But what do you think are the biggest challenges that people are facing now with this new world that we're living in, and this working from home when you've never had to do it before? I remember people telling me, Ingrid, when I first went out on my own, I don't know how you're going to do that. How can you imagine that, Donna? You're going to be at home like most of the time. how are you not going to do that laundry? How are you going to be motivated to get things done? I could never do that. People were saying that to me all the time. And I
Right.
think they're doing it. They're having to do it now.
So
Right.
let's put aside those who have financial issues, because that's really tough. And
Yeah.
then those who have health issues, your priority is just getting healthy. And I believe getting healthy starts with, mindset and being, optimistic and hopeful and things like that. But I'm not a medical doctor. But then the third biggest challenge, and this is based on a recent article from Harvard Business Review, is the feeling of isolation. So 40% of people in in the US, are feeling psychologically and physically isolated, which is a huge number, 40%. And you're right, because I'm trying to analyze everything with my business psychology pair of glasses. And what I realized is that some of us were made for working from home, and we have that self-motivation, that self-discipline, etc. Things, it just sort of works for us. And some of us that's not the ideal environment. And what I'm figuring out is that what most of us were having to go to the office a lot more than, with traffic, and not everyone wanted to go to, an office every day, but that was the norm. And some people worked at home, especially in tech. And now it's swung the other way. Now everyone, or I'm exaggerating, but a lot of people are at home.
Right.
And it's not really an option. It's like it or not, you're home. Before it was like it or not, you're coming to the office, because that's how we do teamwork. And that's how a lot of, especially boomer managed businesses, that's how boomers like to manage. They want to see you.
Yeah, right.
And what is amazing, based on my trend analysis, is that not new normal, the better normal is that we're going to go back in a few months or so, and we'll have options. Those who discovered, I really like this home thing,
right,
then they now had a year of practice and they figured things out, and they're going to be able to say to their bosses, I'd rather work from home. And the boss can't say, no, that won't work, because it did.
yeah,
And those who preferred the office will run back. But there's going to be a whole bunch of us that are going to go hybrid, that
right.
are going to really negotiate some sort of, whether it's 3 days, 2 days, and now everything is open, because we've proven that almost, unless you're doing a manual job, you can collaborate from a distance. And so it's
Right.
more options for everyone. And depending on your age and your priorities and where you live and what your job is, there's going to be more wiggle room for each one of us to decide what is the ideal, work situation. And it'll be dynamic. Maybe, in the summer, I'll decide to bike to work because I don't have a car, but in the winter, it'll be it'll be a very different tomorrow, in a good way.
Yeah, I so agree. When it first became that, people working from home, in 2020 and, mid 2020, when it started to be more popular, I was thinking just that. I'm thinking this is going to be great. There's going to be a lot less of that traveling back and forth, the stress of getting to work late, having to think about your clothing, having to think about childcare, all that stuff is going to be, maybe much more manageable, and you're not going to have to be, preoccupied with it. It's going to be great. That's the way I saw it.
Yeah, at first.
And yeah, I saw it as being an opportunity for people to kind of slow down, and, you get out of bed, you're at work already. How great is that? I knew it from my own experience that it was great.
But
So,
The issue with you and me, because we already love that, is that we were assuming that most people would. And that's where I circle back to 40% are feeling isolated. And so that's our challenge in the short term, is what do we do about that? And then the solution in the long run will be to give everyone options so that each one of us figures out what this new work-life balance will be. You know, how often do I work at home and at the office, depending on, you know, different variables. But for now, we're still not given many options, and we need to know that 40% of our colleagues or clients are not feeling amazing. And so that's a little bit of a blind spot. I feel those of us who sort of enjoy the working from home, we're not quite as aware and sensitive. So I think that's one thing we need to address, you know, collectively.
And what do you think people can do? Is there anything you could do to alleviate that? Is there anything you can think of that maybe even, you know, your boss could do, or you could do as an individual to feel better about that specific feeling of isolation? Like, how do you get away from it? How do you feel better?
Well, there are a lot of things that we've come up with, not just me. Some of the really neat ones are, well, first of all, the most basic is check-in. So make sure, whether you're a boss or just, you know, on a team, that you do check in on people. And when you ask them how they are, wait for the answer and maybe ask the question twice, because if you say, how are you? And they say, fine, and you? That means they didn't really answer the question. It means that you know, they're just being polite, and that's automatic. So instead of just asking, how are you? Because some people are telling me, yeah, we have meetings all the time and we ask how we're doing, but a lot of people won't say, I'm lonely, I'm feeling isolated. They'll say, fine.
That's right.
You have to change the question. How are you feeling? How, you know, how's your energy? How's morale? What, you know, what's going on today? What are your challenges? How was your weekend? And spend more time with these check-ins and with informal conversations, even in meetings, building them in with a team meeting or on your one-on-ones, building in that those first few real minutes of trying to see how the other one's doing. But something even more innovative that I found was, for example, if you work on Zoom or Teams, you open a channel or a Zoom room, and it's just for people who are having a coffee, you know, between two meetings. And you just, let's say you work in a bigger company, sort of like going to the coffee machine or the cafeteria, or you open this Zoom room during lunchtime or around 4, and whoever needs to just, you know, chit chat or vent or laugh, they go in that room. And some people they keep it on all day. Because it's sort of like the office buzz, you know, when you're used to having noise around you, and some people just don't do well with the quiet and the being alone. So, and then you can turn that off if you have a call or you need to focus. So these are new ways of recreating those water coolers or cafeteria moments that were part of our lives, you know?
Right. And the other thing that I think is likely a challenge for some people is the boundaries between your personal life and your office persona. You know, the idea that I even think that dressing differently might be a good option. You know, put on this shirt when you're at work and take it off when the day's done. So even your family has those cues that you're off duty. You know, if your 12-year-old needs something, when I'm wearing this shirt, you know, honey, you gotta go with the list that I gave you. because
Yep.
I'm busy. Mommy's busy right now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But,
I tried to train my dog on when to bark and when not to bark, but he didn't get the memo.
didn't work, eh?
Yeah, so that's something that we're calling the blur, where already work life was in our personal life, and personal life was in our, because of our smartphones. And but now the blur is even more of a gray zone, because when, there was a disconnect moment, or I got in a car, but now there's not that activity that really says, so they're definitely knowing your boundaries. So what works for me based on, first of all, my family situation, but also my biorhythm, like at what time is my peak, and what time, am I more an early bird, and then once you sort of figure out what an ideal day would look like for you in terms of routine or schedule, you're going to have to let people know. And setting expectations and setting your limits, but be vocal about it. Don't feel guilty because someone's emailing you at 8 p.m. Maybe you were up at 7:30 a.m. and you don't have to respond. So if you let people know, like, this is my typical day, I will respond, between 8 and 5 as quickly as I can. And anything I don't get to in the day of, I'll get to, the next, reassuring, explaining, and really having things like shutting that laptop, as instead of just leaving it in the background and hearing pings and dings and being so things like shutting that laptop, and maybe going for a walk, or like cutting up your day,
Turning so it off, right?
Yeah,
Turning
right.
it off.
Yeah, exactly. So, but what's amazing is that this new tomorrow, new better world is that we're all more tolerant. When a dog runs by, or when a kid is pulling at someone's shirt, it's not as embarrassing as it used to. It's just sort of funny, and hey, take care of whatever's going on. And with the Amazons ringing the doorbell, and we've all had so many funny moments that it's not as embarrassing, which is perfectly fine, right? That we're just humans doing the best we can, and there is nothing embarrassing. There is something embarrassing. I have to tell you this one. I was giving an online conference the other day, and so you just see one person, right? We don't really see the 360. But at one moment, the woman says, she's a participant, she says, my husband is sitting right next to me with his computer, and he just farted. And she says, he hopes that my microphone was muted, because and that was that's my funniest story in 11 months. That could be embarrassing, but other than that, I mean, there's nothing to be embarrassed anymore. And a lot of people, the other day, I had a client, and she said, you know what? Excuse me, I'm taking this meeting. I'm in my bed. She said, not because I'm lazy, but it's the only quiet place in the house. And I'm like, that's amazing. We can take our meetings in bed. We can be half dressed, just the top. Like, now we're so much freer than all those norms that we used to live by, right?
Absolutely. I think it's humanizing.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you look at your colleagues as real people, some that were maybe very very traditional and kind of distant. It's lovely to see funny things happen, because you kind of go, yeah, we're the same. We're in this together, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I had one of those moments too with my phone that was attached to these. I was on a conference call, a Zoom call on my phone, plugged my ear pods in, and my cat jumped up, got tangled in the ear pods, and I'm trying to have a conversation. The cat jumped down and dragged me with him to the other side of the room before I could get everything off. So yeah, we've all had those less than dignified experiences, but it was It's just a funny story now. And
Exactly.
even when it happened, I just said, excuse me, that was a cat moment. So I apologize. And, you know, you move on kind of thing. But I do think it just kind of makes us all more human and more tolerant. And it's a good thing.
Yeah,
It's
it
a good
is.
thing.
It is.
So we're like at the end, Ingrid, this is gone so quickly.
Wow.
I'm thinking maybe you didn't introduce yourself, and so I want to give you a minute just to do that. And maybe there's some things that some tools that you might want to suggest that people could go to. You know, I know you're really busy in this space. You know, in the whole well-being and happiness and just helping corporations, I think, deal with this new kind of world that we're living in. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now and how you could maybe intervene or help or make it
Well,
better?
I can tell you what's trending. So I'm a business psychologist. I have been for 30 years, and I've seen a lot, recessions and restructurings and all sorts of situations where organizations want some outside support to, solve issues and to help with the people management aspect of the business. But this is a unique, situation. And because I wrote a book on happiness a few years ago, what timing, what's been trending, I've been giving a lot of happiness conferences and workshops because that's the number one thing on our minds is how can I be happier? And so I'm also giving a lot of stress and energy management sessions, working from home sessions, change management sessions. So there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of workshops and conferences that we're giving. We use a lot of tests, online personality tests for people that are sort of in their career and ask, what am I good at? Where am I going? And, do I want to make a change or not? What if I have some people saying, if I'm forced to go back to the office, I really love this new work-life balance, so I'm going to have to find another job. So there's a lot of career transitions that are either occurring or will occur.
Right.
I know that I just downloaded a book today on minimalism by the new book from Maria Kondo. I didn't even know she wrote a new book, and I'm like, what? And it's called Joy at Work, which is all about, I think I just read the little preview. I can't wait. When we're done, I'm going to take my walk with Snoopy and start listening to the book. But minimizing at work means, getting rid of things that are not serving you. And I'm not sure if that's physical or psychological, but I like the idea. And I know a lot of people did a lot of spring cleaning last March and April and May, but maybe there's another wave of prioritizing and cleaning and zenifying your environment, the people that are not adding value, and the things that are not adding value, because we need a nice environment to work from home. And what I found, and this is based on research, that a lot of us sort of quickly reorganized our office space last year at the last minute, thinking it would be 2 weeks or a month.
Right.
And we didn't take it up a level. We're still on some, corner of a table with a shoebox under the computer because someone told us that we don't look good when the computer is too low. And we're still, using the dining room chair that's not comfortable. And so I think that a year later, it's a good idea to reevaluate, everything we've been through, whether it's people, habits, environment, routine, and decide, what is the next year going to look like. We're worth it to reevaluate and maybe spoil ourselves a little in terms of what do I want to be surrounded by, where do I want to be standing or sitting, who do I want in my life. I think it's a good annual behavior, to debrief and figure things instead of going through the motions and being pulled by the current. And then we're going to be saying, oh, it's been 2 years. Yeah, I'm still on that, working on that shoebox in my basement, right?
Yeah, exactly. Do a little bit of spring cleaning.
Exactly.
Right? Out with the old, in with the new. And I agree.
Yeah.
If you're working with tools that you love, like I've bought file folders that are colorful and have flowers all over them. And I love it. It's just
I know.
nicer than working with a folder that's beige or
Right.
each his own again, right? But I
Right.
do agree that it does
Yeah.
matter. All that stuff matters. Really.
Everything matters.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Ingrid. It was lovely.
Thanks for having me. It's always amazing to chat with you. It flies by. And I think, who's in the background? Your dog or your cat? Or
my dog. And do you hear her groaning?
No, I just saw shadows.
She's groaning every once in a while. If you heard a noise, that was her.
Is that good or bad?
I think she wants to go for a walk, which is exactly what we're going to do. It's about this time I usually take her out. So
it's the perfect time.
Off we go. And you with Snoopy and me with Ruby.
Perfect.
So take care, Ingrid. It was
Thanks,
lovely.
Donna. Thanks so much.
Take care of yourself.
Well,
speak to you soon.
Yeah. Ciao.